Life in the leafy suburbs often feels peaceful and routine, but that's far from true for Noel and his best friend Pete. On this sunny afternoon, the two men are firing up the grill for a barbecue. Both are married, Noel to his wife, Audra, and Pete to Marnie. While Pete is juggling fatherhood, Noel and Audra are preoccupied with trying to conceive their first child. As the burgers sizzle, Pete decides to confide in Noel about his marriage troubles. With a deep sigh, he admits he hasn't been grinding Marnie's corn as much as she might expect. Pete blames their kids for the emotional and physical distance growing between him and Marnie. He doesn't feel valued as a husband or even as a man. Inspired by Pete's candor, Noel silently vows to butter Audra's biscuit as often as possible before their journey into parenthood officially begins. Inside the house, Audra and Marnie are busy in the kitchen, prepping the rest of the meal. Their conversation quickly turns personal. Marnie knows that Noel and Audra are trying to have a baby and gently brings it up. That's when Audra drops a bombshell. She once miscarried as a teenager, a secret she's never shared with Noel. She and Noel are both quietly worried about their fertility. Back at the grill, Pete suddenly reveals something outrageous. He's been spraying his clam sauce on Marnie while she's asleep. Noel is horrified. "Why not just talk to her about how you feel?" he asks. Pete shakes his head, saying it's easier said than done. He feels powerless in his marriage, so this bizarre habit has become his way of coping. Later that evening, after some quality time in the bedroom, Noel tells Audra they should babysit Pete and Marnie's kids. He hopes it'll give his friends some alone time to reconnect. Audra, however, is skeptical of Noel's sudden enthusiasm. She's already picked up on the cracks in Pete and Marnie's marriage. Meanwhile, in Pete and Marnie's house, Pete is up late watching TV. He checks on Marnie, who's sound asleep, and once again resorts to his peculiar habit of showering her with his gentleman's relish. A few days later, Audra gets a surprising message from an old college roommate, Holly. They haven't spoken in over a decade, but Holly's in town and wants to catch up. Audra feels uneasy about it, but Noel encourages her to meet up, seeing it as harmless. What he doesn't know is that there's more to the story between Audra and Holly. During one of their usual runs, Pete admits to Noel that he struggles to stop his nightly habit with Marnie. In his mind, it's better than outright cheating. Noel is appalled, but distracted by his own worries about starting a family. To ease the tension, he suggests he and Audra take a weekend getaway. Audra agrees but adds a twist. She's decided to invite Holly to join them. That night, guilt weighs heavily on Audra. She wakes Noel in the middle of the night to confess a shocking truth. She and Holly were more than just roommates. They had a romantic fling in college. Noel is stunned. In his mind, Audra has always been conservative when it comes to intimacy. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he pushes for details, but Audra refuses to elaborate. Now wide awake, Noel shares this revelation with Pete the next morning during their run. Pete finds the whole thing fascinating and urges Noel to use this loophole to spice things up with Audra. He even suggests Noel ask Audra for a threesome with Holly. Though initially dismissive, Noel can't shake the idea. As Holly's visit approaches, Audra grows increasingly anxious. When Holly finally arrives, she's more stunning and enigmatic than Noel expected. Her playful charm instantly throws him off balance. Holly asks to freshen up with a shower and a nap. Noel helps her settle into the guest room, while Audra scrambles to make everything perfect for her old friend. Holly's prolonged nap only heightens the tension in the house. Audra, unusually excited and nervous, suddenly pounces on Noel in the living room. Despite his reservations, Noel can't resist her energy, even with Holly just a room away. After waiting for what feels like forever, Noel and Audra decide it's time to start prepping for dinner. Audra heads to wake up Holly, finally meeting her old roommate face to face after years of silence. As their eyes meet, memories flood back into Audra's mind. Holly greets her with a big smile and immediately asks for a hug. The reunion feels warm, yet there's a subtle tension hanging in the air. Holly quickly freshens up and joins Noel and Audra at the dinner table. As they sit down to eat, Noel can't help but steal glances at Holly. Small talk feels awkward, and before he can stop himself, Noel blurts out that he knows about Audra and Holly's college fling. Audra turns beet red, utterly embarrassed, while Holly stays calm and unfazed. Sensing the awkwardness, Holly redirects the conversation and talks about her newfound passion, a business combining her love for baking and the brown Buddha. She even brought some samples of her famous edibles for them to try. Audra, hesitant to join in on the taste test, excuses herself to wash the dishes, leaving Noel and Holly alone at the table. Feeling the pressure, Noel checks on Audra in the kitchen, but quickly retreats outside to call Pete. The conversation takes a turn as Noel considers the idea of a three-way with Holly. Pete, ever the instigator, encourages Noel to go for it. When Noel returns inside, he finds Holly dancing in the living room, carefree and full of life. Summoning his courage, Noel nervously brings up the idea of getting freaky. To his surprise, Holly agrees without hesitation, reassuring him to take things slow and bring up the topic with Audra at the right time. Just then, Audra walks in, curious about what they're discussing. Noel panics and lies, saying they were talking about Holly's tax papers. Holly finds the lie ridiculous and calmly reveals the truth, that Noel is interested in a party of three. Audra is stunned, feeling blindsided and betrayed that Noel spoke to Holly about something so intimate before talking to her. Noel tries to justify it, claiming this is their chance to be adventurous before becoming parents. Audra, however, shuts it down, insisting Noel tell Holly that the idea is off the table. Feeling defeated, Noel confronts Holly about betraying their plan. Holly, unapologetic, says she had to be honest with Audra after catching Noel lying. They both agree to let Audra make the final decision. When Audra returns, flustered but composed, it's clear she's made up her mind. Holly, seeing the tension, decides to address the elephant in the room. "Look," she says, "it's obvious we're all attracted to each other. I'd be honored to tango with you both, but only if Audra is comfortable." Holly apologizes to Audra for being a bad friend in the past. Audra softens and reluctantly decides to try one of Holly's magic cookies to ease her nerves. The tension melts away, and soon the trio is laughing and relaxing by the backyard pool. Holly dares herself to go skinny dipping, stripping down without a second thought. Her boldness inspires Noel and Audra, though Audra hesitates until Noel playfully throws her into the pool. Before long, they're all swimming under the stars, the night's earlier drama fading into the background. Back inside, the mood heats up as they munch on more cookies. Holly takes the lead, initiating a moment that leaves Noel awestruck as he watches his wife's wild side unfold. But just as things are getting intense, a loud, urgent knock at the door shatters the moment. Noel answers, only to find a furious Marnie standing there. She immediately yells, accusing Pete of spraying his juices on her while she was asleep. Pete arrives moments later, trying to defend himself. Holly and Audra join them in the living room as Marnie hysterically recounts her discovery. Noel takes Pete outside for a private talk, while Audra stays inside to comfort Marnie. Outside, Pete confesses to Noel that he feels powerless and unappreciated in his marriage. Inside, Marnie vents to Audra, explaining how she's carried the weight of their relationship alone. She's heartbroken that Pete didn't communicate his feelings. Pete fears she'll ask for a divorce, and when Marnie storms out in anger, Pete chases after her. The confrontation leaves Noel, Audra, and Holly stunned. Audra, shaken by the encounter, declares that the night is ruined and wants to call it off. But Holly, ever the optimist, disagrees. "Bad things happen every day," she says. "Worse things than a marriage falling apart. It's up to us to find joy where we can. Let's celebrate being alive." Holly's words break the tension, and slowly, they find themselves laughing again. As the night unfolds, the trio decides to follow Holly's lead, letting go of their worries, even if only for one wild, unforgettable evening. Noel feels a surge of encouragement as the trio picks up where they left off. Holly leans in and starts kissing Audra, igniting a spark that quickly pulls Noel into the mix. What starts as playful quickly escalates, and before long, they're all tangled up in a night of passion that unlocks a whole new dimension in Audra and Noel's relationship. But the post-passion pillow talk takes an unexpected turn. As they lie there catching their breath, Holly decides to bare her soul. She confesses that she still harbors deep feelings for Audra. "I never stopped loving you," she admits, her voice heavy with emotion. Noel, blindsided by the confession, sits up, trying to process what's happening. That's when Audra drops another bombshell. She admits she hasn't been entirely honest with Noel. In a trembling voice, she confesses, "I was in love with Holly back in college. Not just friends, not just a fling, it was a deep, romantic love." Noel is stunned, caught between disbelief and frustration. This was not what he had imagined when he entertained the idea of a three-way. "You should have told me this before," he says, his voice tinged with hurt. Audra, clearly regretful, apologizes profusely, trying to explain that she never meant to deceive him. Holly, now regretful too, admits that she also handled things poorly back then. "I left you hanging," she says to Audra, her voice heavy with guilt. The air feels thick with unresolved feelings, and they decide to call it a night, each retreating to their thoughts. The next morning, after an emotional night, Holly gets up early to make breakfast for Noel and Audra. Over coffee and pancakes, they all promise to stay in touch, acknowledging that the night brought them closer in ways they hadn't expected. Holly hugs them both goodbye and leaves with a bittersweet smile. Life takes on a fresh perspective for everyone involved. Pete and Marnie, inspired by their confrontation, start couples counseling, and their relationship begins to heal. As for Audra and Noel, their emotional breakthroughs bring them closer than ever. And in an unexpected twist, their wish to start a family comes true. Audra is now pregnant, and Noel is over the moon about becoming a dad. Did you enjoy the recap? Please like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be updated next time we drop. Thanks for watching.